Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. So in this one we are going to look at how we can create a material that gives us a dissolve effect. Here as you can see, you can apply it to your objects and you can also apply it to the characters. So here when my character dies, I can have this dissolve and I can remove the actor from the game with this dissolve effect, which makes things look cooler and much better. You can also use this for your enemies as well, and this is a very cool effect that you can use in your project. So let's jump right in and see how we can set this up. Alright, so the idea here is to create a material, assign it to a blueprint, and then control the attributes of the material from the blueprint. So here, first let's create a new folder and let's name it dissolve. Open it up, and first we need a material. So let's name it m_my dissolve and open it up. So here we have this node here and we need to use this opacity mask, so we need to change the blend mode to masked. Now as we can see, we are able to work with this opacity mask as well. Here let's give it a simple color, for example a blue, and of course you can use a texture here instead of a simple color, it doesn't matter. And now here as you can see in our opacity mask, the default value is 1, so everything is visible, but when you set it on 0, your mask will work and you will basically have an invisible material. So now for this we need to use a noise texture to control the different parts. So here I'm going to hold T and left click to add a texture sample, and here in my texture section here I'm going to search for a noise. You can work with these textures here and you can also experiment with them, but for now let's just go with tiling noise 05. And now if I plug this to my opacity mask, you can see that we have different values on the different parts of the material based on this. The black areas will be 0, the white areas will be 1, and this will give a spectrum of values between 0 and 1, which gives us this result here. Alright, now in order to control this value, we need to add a constant value to these. So here I'm going to hold S, left click to add a parameter, name it dissolve, and then add this value to my texture. So search for add and plug this in. Now if I set this for example on 1, the value will be added to this and it will give us a constant look here. If I set it on for example -2, -0.4, -1, 0.5, you can see that I get different results based on this value. And this is how we are going to create the scaling up and the scaling down for our dissolved material. Here we can reverse the values so things make more sense. I wanna bump this up, and when I bump it up I want more dissolve, but now when I bump it up we have less dissolve. So I'm going to reverse this value with a 1- node. And now when I bump this up, for example from 0.5 to 0.6, we have more dissolve on the material. Alright, the next thing we need to do is to define a slider min and max for our parameter here. So when we create a material instance, we cannot go more than a max value or less than a min value. The values I want to work with is -0.4 for our minimum and 0.7 for maximum. So now for example if our value is -0.4, everything will be visible, there will be no dissolve. And if we go on our max 0.7, we have a completely transparent material. Here for example if you go to if you go over your slider max, you can see that it doesn't make a difference. So it's a good idea to define a minimum and maximum range for your material here. Let's set the default on 0 or maybe 0.2 for example. And now if I create a material instance, I'm able to play with this dissolve parameter here and control that dissolve in my material instance. So here, let's put this here, right click on our material, create a material instance, change the name to MI, which stands for material instance, and open it up. Now here, as you can see, we have this dissolve value here, and when I play with this, you can see that we have this effect here. Great. The next step is to make it more beautiful. So we need to make emissive effects for these edges so the dissolve can look more interesting. Let's go back to our master material and set that as well. Okay, first let's make some real estate here for our new nodes. So let's drag these down a little and make some space here for our emissive nodes. And now I need a couple of parameters. So hold S, left click, and name the first one dissolve width. Add another one. This one is transition smoothness. And now I need to grab my texture sample and this value here, add a subtract so I can have access to the values on the edges. Then I'm going to subtract them from my dissolve width. Then I need a smooth step. This is going to be our value and this is going to be our max, and the min is 0. And then we need to multiply this by a color. So hold 3, left click, add a color, and this is going to be the color of your light. So let's go with something like this and multiply them together and plug them in our emissive color. Now we have the emissive, and now let's go to our material instance and play with the values and see them in real time. So here we have dissolve width, for example 0.2, 2, 5, 20, minus 1, then this transition smoothness can be on 0.6, 5, 6, 9, and now here, as you can see, when we play with these values, we can see what's happening here. Let's bump up our emissive. So here in our multiply, again we can multiply this by a value like 50, so it's more shiny, and now we can see things better in our material instance. So again, play with your values and see what you like. So now if I keep my dissolve width and transition smoothness on these values, it will look something like this. Another thing we can do is to add another constant to our multiply value here, so we can control the emissive power as well. So hold S, left click, and add emissive power. Plug this in, and for example, let's go with 50 for now. And now we have this in our material instance as well, so we can bump it up even more. Great, and now this is our dissolve. As you can see, it's looking cool and it's ready. Of course, you can go back, play with your values, your colors, and of course the texture. So for example, if we go with another noise, we will have a different look for our material. Let's see how the Perlin noise looks here. So if we use that, it will go like this. Here the minimum and maximum values that we defined for dissolve is based on this, so it's based on the texture. Here, as you can see, when we go on our minimum minus 0.4, we can see that it's not completely invisible, so you need to define these values based on your texture. Here, let's go back to our tiling noise 0.5 and keep things as it is. And here you can see that the values for our dissolve and for our noise texture are good. Great, and now that we have our material, the next step is to control this dissolve value from a blueprint. So here, let's create a blueprint. Actor, name it BP dissolve, and open it up. Here, let's add, for example, a sphere. Then assign the material to the component. So let's go with our material instance my dissolve and add it to our level. So here, as you can see, it's starting from this point, which is not what we want. So let's go to our dissolve and set our default value on minus 0.4, so it starts from this state. And now the next step is to control this dissolve value from our blueprint. So open up your blueprint, go to your event graph, and here on our event begin play, we need a create dynamic material instance. So grab a reference to your sphere, then drag off a where, create dynamic material instance. This function will create a material instance. It will assign it to its target, which in case of our actor is the sphere. And then when we create this, we promote it to a variable. Let's name the material dissolve material instance, and then we'll be able to control the attributes of this. So for the function, the source material is our dissolve material, my dissolve, and then we have the reference, and next we need to drag off a where and set scalar parameter by value. And now we need to define the parameter that we want to play with and define the value. So here in our material instance, the parameter that we want to play with is this dissolve. So right click, copy display name, paste it here. And now if we set a value, it will assign this to our dissolve. So if we set it on 1, you can see that it will set the dissolve on 1. If we set it on 0.1 and also after a delay so we can see things better, for 2 seconds, you can see that after 2 seconds the dissolve value is changed to this. Great. Now in order to make the transition smooth, we need a timeline. So instead of snapping it to the value that we want, we need to create a timeline. So here add timeline. Then let's also add a reroute to make things look cleaner. Then here in our timeline, we need to make a float. Set the length on, for example, 2 seconds or maybe 3. Then hold shift, left click to add a point and do it again to add a second point. The first one should go from 0 and the starting value should be our minimum value, so it's minus 0.4. And the second one should be on the end of the timeline, which is 3 seconds, and the value should be the maximum value of our slider, which is 0.7. You can also select them both, right click on one of the nodes and set it on auto so you have this smooth curve. Now instead of hard coding the value, we can plug this in. And now we will have a smooth transition between the values of our dissolve. So as you can see, it will look like this. And finally, we can destroy the actor. So when our transition is finished, we can destroy actor. Compile, play. And as you can see, everything is working perfectly. Okay, now let's say that you want to implement this stuff on an object that already has a material, like our third-person character. So the trick here is to implement these nodes inside the material of the object and next do the same stuff in your blueprint. So here I'm going to go to my material here on my third-person character. So select it, hit Ctrl B to open it up, go to your third-person character, and here as you can see our mesh has these materials on it. We have 2 material elements, one for the hands and the legs and one for the body and the head, and they have material instance queen 1 and queen 2. Let's open up queen 1. Let's also open up queen 2 and see what's happening. So here we have queen 2 and it has a parent. Its parent is queen 1. So let's go to its parent. And here queen 1 also has a parent. So it is a material instance and it has a parent which is a master material. And this is the master material of the characters. So here we need to implement the nodes that we made here. Here as you can see we have the opacity mask and the emissive color. And here this is connected to your emissive color. So if you see this, it doesn't matter, it's just about a logo on the body. Just disconnect this and go on with your nodes. So here let's create some space and then duplicate the nodes of our material over there. So grab them all, Ctrl C and Ctrl V here. This is for our emissive and this is for our opacity mask. And now as we can see, we have the same system for our character as well. Now just hit save, and after it's done, you can go to your material instances and play with this dissolve value and get the save effect. So here in coin 1, we have our dissolve, and here as you can see, when we play with this, we have the dissolve. Again, here as you can see, minus 0.4 is not enough, but now let's keep it like this and see how it looks on our characters. So since coin 2 is a child of coin 1, it will also have the dissolve, and as you can see, we have the effect on this as well. Now the third person character is looking like this. So we need to go lower than minus 0.4, but because we locked it in our master material, we can't. Let's go to our master. Here for our dissolve, let's set the slider min on something, for example, like minus 1. And here, as you can see, minus 1 is good enough. Everything is gone. And the slider max 0.7 is good. So let's save it. Keep the default on, for example, 0.1. It doesn't matter. And now in our queen, we can set it on minus 1 and everything will look fine. So let's set the dissolve default value on minus 1, also for queen 2. And now our third person character is looking good. Okay, the next step is to apply this logic. So again, I'm going to grab them all, hit Ctrl C and implement them in our third person character. So some free space here can do the job for us. So paste, and again I want to launch it on an event begin play. So search for event begin play, plug it in, and now we need to adjust some values here. First of all, our target is this mesh here, so delete this, grab the mesh, plug it in. Then again, let's set our material, so promote to variable, name it dissolve material, then plug everything in, and let's also adjust the values of our float. So here we are going from minus 1 to 0.7, so let's set this based on that as well. So minus 1 and 0.7. And now let's see what happens. So let's also delete this destroy actor for now. Compile, play, and now after 2 seconds we can see that the effect is happening for our material. But the thing here is that it's just doing it for one material element in our third person character. So here as you can see, we have 2 material elements here, and we are doing our thing for only element 0. So here in our event graph we have this node, and here as you can see we have an element index which is set on 0. So we need to do the same for the other element as well. I'm going to make some space, then duplicate this node, put it here, add it to my flow. The target is the mesh, the element index this time is 1, and let's also promote this to a variable as well. So promote, let's name it dissolve material number 2, plug it in, and now we need to also set the scalar parameter for the other material as well. So we need to drag this into our event graph, get it, and put it in. For material number 1, we are getting it from this. You can also get it like this, so it looks more understandable. Now we are doing our thing for both the materials. This one is coin 2 and this one is coin 1. Now if I play, you can see that the thing is happening for both the materials. Here we made a mistake, and it's this. Here for our third person character, we are creating the dynamic material on the my dissolve, which is this blue material. So here, as you can see, it sets the character on that and then does the dissolve, but we don't want to do that. We want to use our materials that we edited here. So we want to use coin 1 and coin 2. For element 0, we want to use coin 1. So here in the event graph for element 0, we want coin 1, and for element index 1, we want to use coin 2. And now it will do the thing for these materials, and it's not going to switch it on this dissolved material here. Now, as you can see, it's working perfectly. Yep, that's it. And this is how you can create this dissolve. So for example, you can use this in your death. For example, here, let's create a death real quick for our character. So I'm going to grab a reference of the mesh, set simulate physics, hit simulate, put it here, and after 2 seconds we want to simulate, and also set the collision of the mesh on ragdoll. And now after 2 seconds my character will die and these will happen. So it will go like this. You can implement the same system for your enemies as well. So all you need to do is to do these calculations on the material of the enemy and then do these calculations in the actor. That's it for this tutorial, and if you learned something new and liked the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That means a lot for the future of this channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.